Hello, Meoni here. This video serves as feedback for Phaenna, the second iteration of our cosmic exploration, and also a little bit of a chat. So first of all, I got Star Contributor with very little effort, which clearly shows that on my own server, Ragnarok, there are less people taking part in this. Star Contributor, if you didn't know, is somebody who has topped the leaderboards for a 24-hour period during this like a judging process, and then essentially a hologram is presented of that player who contributed the most points in that 24-hour period in Phaenna itself. And also this will be presented as a visual effect on your character as well. You get a buff that you can turn off if you wish to, where some little planets orbit around you. I was very surprised to log in and actually see this morning. I was like, oh, okay, I guess there's less people doing it. And that is really where we're coming back with this, a bit of feedback. So I have noticed on my own server, I'm not sure if it's the same on yours, because I'm not playing on every server. Obviously, I don't know all of the information other than the standings website, where you can see Cactuar clearly ahead and Tombury just behind, and other servers working their hardest. But then on the lower end, you see Dynamis and parts of Chaos Data Center, and of course Oceanic falling behind a little bit compared to others. And it does sort of strike me as there are less people involved this time than with the moon, and you have to really analyze why that is. And I think the biggest problem with this content, with cosmic exploration, is that there isn't really enough to do, right? You've got your mech missions, you've got your red alerts, you've got your weather conditions, those are fine, but at the end of the day, you're still doing leave quests, right? That's essentially the comparison. A lot of people are put off because they expected Phaenna to improve on the formula, which they have, admittedly, with GP recovery on gathering, stuff like that. You know, they've revolutionized the way that the difficulty system works. If you want to just spam your way through the lower missions, you can. The difficulty's been nerfed for those, but they've retained the difficulty for some of the harder missions, so your EX and EX Plus missions, which is great. They've got the token system, so there is guild to be made potentially from a hoverboard and anything else they add in the future. But the actual content itself seems rather hollow. The moon, the feedback we gave for that is you incorporated content that level 10 crafters and gatherers who have completed Endwalker can actually take part in, right? So that's the entry requirements for this. So you would actually figure in then that there'd be a lot of level 10 and above content, a leveling system that engaged you with other players, but in reality it's just the same leave quests. There isn't really any reason that I would advise a level 10 crafter or gatherer to go to the moon over, let's say, doing other leave quests in the game, or going out and gathering special nodes and making gil from that stuff, right? From your leave kits and things like that. That would be a better piece of advice to give. And of course, you've got, you know, your crafting. You can craft the new stuff when you get there. So it just feels very difficult to really recommend to anyone to try this content out. And I think after Sinus Adorum, i.e. the moon, I thought that they were going to take the idea and then go, right, okay, we need to engage more players. Let's make Phaenna something different. And they really haven't done that. It is a vibrant looking world. It's essentially made of glass or silicon, and that's kind of the excuse why there's no animals. I personally would have liked to have seen the Aetheromatic Auger back from the Diadem, where there are creatures roaming around that don't attack you, but you could fill up the bar from gathering or crafting, and then you could fire a laser beam at the monster to defeat it and then reduce it into its components, and then those components were worth your time, right? It was one of the cooler features of the Diadem that seems to have been forgotten. There was also the Fate system, i.e. FETE system, from the Ishgard Restoration, which came at a later state, which was quite nice. It was quite rewarding because you had newcomers to the content have something to go and do, to take part in, that was not necessarily all crafting and gathering. It was doing silly events and things like that. I think at the end of the day, what I would have liked to have seen with Phaenna is more celebratory content, so that you had more socialization. It brought people together. It gave you tangible rewards like mounts, minions, glamour, that kind of stuff from taking part in little events. It's very hard to look at this content, recommend it, and then sink hours into it knowing that it's exactly the same thing. I'm personally somebody who suffers from a lot of sleep loss. I'm the sort of person who will grind something for the end goal anyway. I didn't think I was going to be approaching the black hover mount, you know, the big robot reskin. We've got the white one. There's a black version for getting 500,000 points in everything, basically, all crafters and gatherers. I didn't think I'd be making a start on that properly yet. It was one of my goals to work towards that towards the end of the expansion, but I've been sinking a lot of time into it. We got Star Contributor today. I thought I'd make a bit of a reactions thing, and honestly, I think with the time investment that I have given to this content, I feel that the rewards have been subpar, and I don't think there's been enough engagement to keep people attached to it or to bring in anyone new, because it's basically more of the same. If you've done the moon, this is the same. It's just a different setting with different names of your objectives. There are 5 more ranks of Cosmic Tool, and quite honestly, the new Cosmic Tools look kind of drab. They're not really anything else. I know this is still an intermediary stage, but it basically just adds a section to the top of them. If you liked them before, I guess that's cool, because you've got a little addition to them, and there's like no glow attached to them obviously yet. There's nothing like that. So that'll be like your latter stage, right? So it's hard to judge the weapons, but 5 stages, they're incredibly easy to get done. They don't take that long at all comparatively. So there's not really time you can sink into that in a big way compared to how Sinus Adorum was. It felt like it was a little bit longer in process. Maybe that's just me. I just think that the content needs to be improved on. You've got this fantastic concept of exploring the cosmos, literally, and going to new worlds, far off flung places, but there's a significant lack of lore. There's a significant lack of like rewards that are not market tradable, because the majority of things are market tradable. So why would you do the content? That's the other thing, right? I know that they're doing it so that you can make gil, but you're not really making gil though, because even the Cosmo board is incredibly cheap now, apart from on day one. So I would have preferred if there were things to work towards, more things that were easier than getting the black hover mount, but harder than going to the market board, and I think you would have engaged more people. The fact there's no titles for your Star Contributor, why would you bother going through it? I certainly wasn't going for it myself. Oh look, I've got a planetary buff. Look at this person. They don't sleep very well, or they have no life. You know, that's all that buff shows. The hologram's cool, but it's there for what, 14 days? You get the buff for 14 days, and then that's basically it. You don't get a title. You don't get an achievement even. You know, compared to the Ishgard Restoration, where you would get titles for time-gated stuff, like being I don't know, somebody who's earned a certain amount of points during this period in between this month and this month, and they did that repeatedly. There are several achievements I don't have, you know, like the Nest Zone achievements, for example. I don't have those, but I've got Saint of the Firmament because I was focusing on my Weaver at the time, and then I focused so hard on that to try and get in the top 12, fighting against the bots and whoever else. And it was a lot of sleepless nights, but it was something to go for. You know what I mean? There was a title. I know that's such a small thing, but there was something for me to aim for. With this content, there really isn't anything for somebody who's hardcore to aim for. A friend of mine, for example, who won't mind me mentioning him, he had Saint of the Firmament 3 times, okay? He worked on 3 of the titles, which are slightly different for some reason. I don't know why, but one of them has like as a prefix rather than a suffix, so it's like Saint of the Firmament such and such, and then the others are such and such Saint of the Firmament. So there is slight differences, I guess. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but he got that 3 times, if I remember correctly, and he liked the idea of getting a title, something tangible. This content, he has not logged into the game for it. Not at all. So that's the sort of person that you're missing out on. The person that is usually attracted and addicted to this kind of repetitive loop with the eventual reward, right? Something tangible that he can be proud of. At the end of this, I mean, I guess we're going to get the mount and the individual titles for 500k, right? But the actual... there's no ranking titles. It doesn't make any sense. It feels like we've got what we learned from the Ishgard Restoration, what worked, what didn't work, and then just gone, actually, let's not, let's not shine a light on any one person in particular, but we're going to give them this strange buff that does nothing and a hologram that lasts like a few days. It just feels weird, dude. It just feels weird. I just think that there should be more content to engage the level 10 players that they're supposedly targeting this towards, 10 plus, because all you need to do is complete Endwalker, and then you have a level 10 crafter or level 10 gatherer, and you can come straight to the moon. There doesn't really seem to be much attraction for them to do that, because there are plenty of other pieces of content they could do that would be more beneficial to both their leveling and the reward system, stuff that's market tradable, because the stuff on the moon and Phaenna is not market tradable because it has its own independent inventory, which is a cool idea, don't get me wrong. Just that's one of the things that I'm surprised that there's not really anything for them to come and level for. So then you've got that audience out the way, you've got the people who want titles, they're out the way. And then really, it's only the people who are working on the 500k achievements, which are so few in the reflection of things. I think the content needs to drastically change by the time we get a new moon or update to Cosmic Exploration, because as it stands, if it is more of the same as what we currently have with Phaenna, there'll be even less people taking part, and servers like my own will go into fail state situations for the rank up. It just isn't that rewarding. Past the first initial rewards of getting that stuff and putting it on the market board, which people did, it's not dead, but at peak times, there's not many people in comparison, right? We have like 150 people probably on Ragnarok at peak time. I checked the servers. It just feels a bit hollow, and they could do so much more with this bountiful looking world. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Anyway, let me know what you think about the content. Like I say, what you would add, what you would change, and where you hope it goes for the next world. Remember, there are 4 worlds in total, supposedly. So that's the moon, Phaenna, and there's 2 more. Anyway, much love, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.